Okay, let's unpack this. We're diving into a food that's, I mean, it's pretty much central to every modern diet, and yet it's also maybe the most feared thing in the kitchen. Chicken. I mean, think about it. For something we eat all the time, there's just so much anxiety around handling raw chicken. Everyone has their family rule for how to prep it, how to store it, and we have stacked your sources here. Everything from the CDC all the way to 2,000-year-old Roman cookbooks to give you a real scientifically grounded shortcut.
Exactly. Our mission today is to get into that fascinating kitchen science history triangle of chicken.
Yeah.
We're going to filter out some of the myths, the well-meaning ones, and establish a working theory based on hard data. And then we'll contrast that with how ancient civilizations did it.
The goal being you can leave this knowing why you're doing what you're doing with that bird.
That's the idea. Real confidence in the kitchen.
So let's start where the fear starts, the whole idea of toxicity. We all know someone who says they won't cook chicken because, white meat is toxic or it's just destined to poison you.
Right.
Let's just hit that head on. Is chicken meat itself fundamentally toxic?
Oh, that's a hard no. Absolutely not. The chicken meat itself, in its natural state, is not toxic at all.
Okay.
The panic, which is very real, I get it, comes from a strictly microbiological issue.
A germ issue.
Exactly. A germ issue that results in food poisoning, which people then, incorrectly label as the bird being poisonous.
That distinction feels so important. It shifts the blame from the food to the management of the food.
It's all about management.
So if it's not the meat, it's the microbes. What are these unseen guests we need to be thinking about?
Well, if you look at the data from, say, the CDC, you see three main culprits. Everyone knows the big one, salmonella.
Of course.
But the one that's often overlooked and is actually the leading cause of bacterial food poisoning in many places is Campylobacter.
Campylobacter. So why is that a bigger risk than salmonella if it gets fewer headlines?
It just tends to be more common in the flock, and it's a little bit hardier in its raw state. I mean, heat kills them both very easily. But, Campylobacter is the one to watch.
Okay, so that's two. You said there were three.
The third one, and this one surprises people, is Clostridium perfringens. And this one is different. C. perfringens is usually the bad guy in, large batch food situations, like catering, big events.
Why there specifically? What's the deal with that?
Because it's a spore-forming bacterium. So it doesn't really grow when it's super hot or when it's refrigerated. It absolutely thrives in the danger zone.
The danger zone being?
That lukewarm temperature. When a huge pot of chili or a giant roast cools down too slowly, the spores basically wake up and multiply like crazy if the food sits between 40 and 140 Fahrenheit for too long.
Got it. So when someone says they were struck by chicken, what they're really describing is just a textbook case of food poisoning.
That's all it is. It's triggered by microbes that were either already there, or they survived because of undercooking, or they multiplied because of bad storage.
It all comes back to management.
Precisely. And that brings us, I think, to the single biggest management failure in the home kitchen.
Which is?
The habit of washing the bird.
Okay, now I have to challenge this because this is a core memory for me. It's a habit passed down in my family. Intuition just screams that rinsing something makes it cleaner. You want to get the gunk off. So should we be washing raw chicken?
It feels right. I know. It feels cleaner. But based on every single major food safety guide, the USDA, the European Food Safety Authority, all of them, the answer is a definitive, absolute no.
Wow.
And this is really where science has to overrule our gut instinct.
So tell me why. Why is this thing my grandmother taught me now considered more dangerous than just leaving the bacteria on the surface?
Because of one fundamental principle we forget. Water does not kill bacteria.
Heat does.
Heat does. That's it. So when you run a raw chicken under your tap, you're creating splashback. It's this invisible mist of water droplets.
Those droplets are carrying the germs.
They're carrying the salmonella, the Campylobacter, everything you're trying to get rid of. You're creating cross-contamination. You're just spraying bacteria all over your sink, your counters, your dish towels.
So you haven't made the chicken any safer. You've just made your whole kitchen riskier.
You've made the whole prep area a hazard zone. It is, without a doubt, one of the riskiest things people do, and they think it's a safety step.
That is a crucial piece of information.
Okay.
So let's move from handling to the anatomy itself. Once the chicken is out of the package, on the cutting board, are there specific parts we should be removing or paying close attention to?
Yes, absolutely. Even with a pre-processed chicken from the store, there are a few areas you want to check. And you really want to focus on the inside of the cavity.
Okay, what are we looking for?
The first, and it's the spot most people miss, is the lung remnants. They're these small, dark, spongy bits deep inside the spine cavity.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right. A processor might miss them, and if you don't clean them out, they can harbor bacteria. And, more importantly, they're really hard to cook fully because they're protected by the bone structure.
So just get in there with your finger and scoop them out.
It's a quick check that eliminates a huge harbor point for microbes.
Good tip. What else?
You want to look for any big pockets of uncooked subcutaneous fat, the fat just under the skin. If it's really thick, it can also act as an insulator for microbes, keeping them from reaching a safe temperature.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, if you're butchering at home, the area around what's called the vent is obviously the highest risk point for contamination. And you should always be mindful of raw, bloody bone marrow.
Okay, last one on this. What about the organs? The liver, the gizzard, a lot of people love those. Same rules.
Same rules, but with, let's say, higher stakes.
Yeah.
They can be delicious, but they absolutely must be exceptionally well cooked.
No medium rare chicken liver?
Definitely not. The data is so clear on this. Undercooked chicken liver has been directly linked to serious food poisoning cases, especially in Europe. People try to cook it fast, like a steak, and the center just doesn't get hot enough. Thorough cooking is non-negotiable there.
Okay, we know how to handle it, what to look for. Now, for the results. Here's where it gets really interesting. If health is the goal, what's the healthiest way to cook chicken? It's always a fight between, say, chicken soup and a simple roast. Which one wins?
Well, the truth is, it kind of depends. It depends on your goal and your own constitution. Neither one is just flat out better than the other. They just do different things.
Okay, so let's break that down. Let's start with chicken soup.
Right. The huge benefit with soup is the high transfer of compounds like collagen and gelatin and minerals right into the broth.
You're extracting all the good stuff.
Exactly. By simmering it, you're breaking down all that connective tissue and you get this super digestible food. It's why it's so good for you when you're sick or for the elderly, because your body can absorb those nutrients so easily. It's restorative.
And what about the roast or just boiling the meat? If soup pulls everything out, is the leftover boiled meat somehow less nutritious than a piece of roasted chicken?
That's a great question. And no, it's not compromised. The nutrition is just focused differently. When you roast or boil the meat and you eat the solids, the protein stays really concentrated in the muscle fibers.
I see.
So that method is perfect for, say, an athlete or someone very active who wants maximum protein and wants to control the fat, maybe by taking the skin off. You lose some of those broth minerals, but you get pure protein density.
So soup for restoration, roasting for concentration. If those are the two good options, what's the cooking method we should be most worried about?
Oh, that's easy. It's frying. Frying is consistently the riskiest method, and it's not just about the extra fat.
What is it then?
It's the intense heat. The super high temperatures create oxidized fats, which are bad enough, but more importantly, they lead to the creation of heterocyclic amines.
Okay, that sounds serious. Can you ground that chemistry for us? What are heterocyclic amines?
Yeah, I mean, they're compounds we really want to minimize. Basically, think of it this way. When you cook muscle meat at extremely high temperatures, like in a deep fryer, you are chemically changing the amino acids and the creatine in the chicken.
They react.
They react to that intense heat and generate these specific compounds, which your sources link to increased health risk factors. That's basically the chemical price you pay for that super crispy texture.
It's fascinating. The trade-off for texture is this chemical risk. Okay, now that we get the modern science, let's go back in time. Our sources show this amazing contrast in how ancient cultures handled chicken without refrigeration.
Absolutely. The historical record is really clear. Cultures developed very specific methods to mitigate risk, and they often relied on time and temperature in ways we've just sort of forgotten.
Let's start with the Vikings. I just don't picture them eating a lot of chicken.
They didn't. For the Vikings, chicken was a true luxury. I mean, archaeological evidence from digs in Norway and Denmark shows that the bird was valued mostly for its eggs.
Daily protein.
Daily, reliable protein. The meat itself was for special occasions.
And when they did eat it, how did they handle the safety risk?
Their method was simple and safe. Boiling. Just boiling it in large cauldrons with minimal seasoning salts, some herbs. It was a classic slow cook. That long exposure to heat over hours in a stew just naturally destroyed the microbes and made it a safe, reliable meal.
Okay, moving south a bit, the Romans, they took a way more sophisticated approach. They loved chicken.
Oh, they were obsessed with it. It was incredibly popular. And we have these amazing records in cookbooks like Apicius de Re Coquinaria. Their recipes were really
What
complex.
made them so complex?
Well, a key ingredient was garum.
The fermented fish sauce.
That's the one. It provided this intense umami bomb of flavor. But before refrigeration, that salty fermented sauce was also a great preservative. It masked any little off flavors too.
So what was their cooking process? Did they just boil it like the Vikings?
No, they used a very clever two-step process. They would often boil the chicken first.
To guarantee safety.
Exactly, to guarantee internal safety and make it tender. Then they would finish it in an oven or a pan with these really elaborate sauces, like honey and vinegar combinations. They separated safety from flavor.
That's brilliant. Okay, and finally, the Ottoman Empire, where chicken was basically a central part of the cuisine, right?
Central and almost medicinal. In Ottoman palace cuisine, chicken soup was seen as a healing food. They had these incredibly complex dishes like mutankana and all kinds of palace pilafs.
What was their main focus?
The Ottoman approach was all about long cooking times, making the meat incredibly soft, and prioritizing digestion. They wanted to break down all the fibers. I mean, the famous tavuk guzu, the chicken breast dessert.
Right, the milk pudding with chicken.
Yeah. It sounds weird to us, but it just shows how dedicated they were to processing chicken meat to achieve specific textures and make it easy on the stomach.
That is the perfect summary. The common thread with the Vikings, Romans, and Ottomans was time. Boiling, stewing, slow cooking, they all used time to deal with the risk.
That's absolutely right. And it brings us right back to today. Why do we still think chicken is so problematic?
Hmm.
Well, it's a mix of industrial scale and home impatience. The bird spoils fast, and while industrial hygiene is important, most of the problems happen in our kitchens, not the factory.
These were rushing.
We're rushing. Historically, people defaulted to boiling and slow cooking. Our modern problem isn't the bird, it's the speed and carelessness we use trying to get a fast dinner on the table. We've traded the historical safety net, which was time for convenience.
And that contrast between ancient wisdom and modern impatience leaves us with this final thought to ponder. So what does this all mean? If the Romans used sophisticated sauces to flavor chicken only after they had already mitigated the risk by boiling it, separating that crucial step of safety from the step of flavor, what does our modern decision to combine both into a single, speedy, high-heat process tell us about our priorities in the kitchen? Is convenience worth the risk, or should we restore the time factor our ancestors instinctively knew was essential?